Howdy YouTube family, it is Bolt CRNA coming to you again with another day's topic. So today we're going to talk about me going down memory lane and the 5 worst things about being a nurse or a male nurse or a nurse that happens to be born with the XY chromosomes, whatever you want to call it. But that specific type of nurse, which is what I was, and I am still a nurse anesthesiologist, but yeah, let's talk about it a little bit today. So anytime I do topics like this, I usually get mixed responses. Some people think it's funny, some people relate to it, other people get offended by it. I'm trying not to offend anybody. I'm trying not to say anything that, would be incorrect, but keep in mind, these are experiences from my personal experience as a male nurse and the 4 years that I worked in the ICU as a nurse. So the number one thing that I think was the worst about being a male nurse that more often than not came up and was some type of topic is the idea that nursing is for females and that the nursing field as a whole is a feminine thing, it's for females, and you would get questions or just inferences or something from patients, family members of your own, personal family members of your patients, other people in the healthcare field, providers sometimes. There's always just a little bit of odd insinuation or thought between you being a male and also a nurse, or maybe just a joke or something some comment they have to make. But essentially always insinuating that this is a female's job and you're doing something that's like abnormal, or you've chose a career path that's just not the typical for a man to be able to do. And it's even come down to the point where certain points in my training and even as a new nurse, people would insinuate, like females who would be precepting me or something would make a comment about some kind of organization skill I did, or the way that I laid out my meds or something like that, and would insinuate that females just are better at this kind of thing, like we're just more innately able to be structured and orderly and do things properly like a nurse would, or something like that. So as a male, you sometimes even get that insinuation or comment like your genetic makeup and your chromosomes is gonna result in you not being capable of doing this career very well, and you being kind of subpar just because of your male, genetics. The second thing that I would say, this feels awkward doing it, it's like a peace sign. Second thing that I would say is oftentimes get loaded down with the biggest, heaviest patients, or the most combative patients are prone to punch or be rude, or they're sexually explicit. For the females, they keep making advances on them and things like that, and so you get saddled down with them. A lot of times they're delirious or confused, or maybe just a complete behavioral personality disorder, psychiatric issues. So a lot of times as a male nurse, you're going to get those patients. And to be honest, they're usually a little more apprehensive about trying those kind of maneuvers with a male, but sometimes they're inappropriate with us too. And I'm not saying that it doesn't really bother me the same way that I guess it would bother a female, but they made some comment that I'm not happy about. So yeah, it's not like we're just immune to those things. We still deal with those patients ourselves, and if they kick me in the chest, it still hurts. Or if they're 350 pounds and I'm going to roll them, it still hurts my back to move this patient this kind of weight. So, and I think some people can get in the habit of getting those patients over and over and over again, and if you're just constantly getting the most combative or rudest patients, or the heaviest patients, or physically the most demanding, or behaviorally the most unpleasant, that can wear on you over time. So I don't think a lot of male nurses really enjoy that aspect. And if it's not happening on your unit and all the women and men all take equal share of those and they never get disproportionate amounts of those kind of patients, that's awesome. But like I said, that was not my experience. The third thing that happened all the time that wasn't all that annoying, but just kind of like, come on, man. Like, this is so sexist. And I know it works worse in females' favor, but a lot of people understand the trope that if you're a female in the hospital, you're considered a nurse, and if you're a male in the hospital, you're considered a physician. And so as a male nurse, you're oftentimes asked, or addressed as if you're their physician. And when you tell them, oh no, I'm your nurse for today, you can even go in the room and tell them like, hey, my name's Jason, I'm gonna be your nurse today, taking care of you. And the family member is like, oh, you're so young to be a doctor. And I'm like, I just told you that I'm gonna be your nurse today, taking care of you in the ICU, or your family member in the ICU. Like, obviously, I just told you that, and then you still address me as a doctor. And then you tell them, you explicitly remind them, like, no, I mean nurses in RN, like that registered nurse. I will be actually physically taking care of your father today. And then they would be like, oh, well, so you're going to med school then? Like, they just cannot comprehend the idea that you are their nurse and you are not in any way gonna be their physician. And then a female can walk in the room who is their rheumatologist, and they'll say, oh, the nurse is here, Dad. And that's very common to happen all the time. And it's just kind of annoying. It's especially annoying for the women, I know. But even as a male, because it almost kind of insinuates that, again, like, you cannot be the nurse. You're not allowed to be the nurse because you're the male. You have to be their doctor. And then it's almost like you've fallen short of their expectations of you because of your education as a bachelor's and not a doctorate when you're their bedside nurse. It's like, my education level's great to be an RN, and I'm not ashamed of that. The fourth thing that I can tell you is it's not really a bad thing. I guess some people may say it's a bad thing. It's just something notable I remember about being a male nurse, is on the unit you become like a lot of women's work hubby. You become like the work husband of a lot of ladies on the unit, a lot of the other nurses, because you may be one of the handful of dudes on the unit. And especially if you're nice to people and stuff, you end up becoming like the adopted work husband of many other nurses and techs and people like that. Sometimes it can become almost like a drama on the unit, where people are creating drama or fighting amongst each other, or so yeah, that can be a little unique as a man on a unit with a lot of women. You can become kind of entangled in their personal lives, and they're talking to you about a lot of different stuff, sometimes their own spouses and their own family dramas and stuff. And sometimes you get a little bit pulled too much in, and you really do somehow become like the work husband, not really intentionally, but yeah, it's a unique element of being a male nurse on a many units. And I bet a lot of male nurses out there can tell you that. They're like, sometimes you end up knowing a lot more about your female colleagues than you ever needed to know or thought you would know about them. And it's an interesting dynamic. And the fifth thing that I would say as a male nurse that was problematic to me, that I didn't really enjoy, is that people a lot of times would assume you do it for the money. That you became a nurse because it's a solid career that pays pretty highly, and you can live anywhere in the country and make a good income and have a steady job, and so you did it for the money. And honestly, I mean, there probably are some nurses, female and male nurses out there, who did things for that reason, but I would not say that because you're male, you're doing it for that reason. I would not say that at all. And it also insinuates that like men are not becoming nurses for quote unquote the right reasons, being like, you want to help people, you have a calling to help people get better and help heal the people, and be there for people in their vulnerable moments and critical times in their lives. That's why I went into it. And it is great that it pays you well and that you have a steady job and stuff, and that's a key aspect too. But your driving force should never be that for any job, I would think, and especially not for nursing. That's so much of a self-sacrificing type career field that you work in. If you're in it for that primary reason, being money or job stability or something, and it's not because you actually like people and you want to help people and you want to be there for people, I think you're going to burn out pretty fast, because honestly the money is not worth it. The amount of sacrifice and the amount of times you're going to have to do things for people that you never thought you would do for anybody, and you're going to do it for some stranger that you met that morning, it's not worth the money. You really should want to be there and do this and feel like it's kind of a calling on your life. And I know some people hate that term, a calling, but I don't know what else to call it. But it should being a physician, being a nurse, you know, these are paths that take a lot of sacrifice, and your career the rest of your life is going to be sacrificing your own personal wants and needs for other people while you're at work. And so you shouldn't want to go into it just because it pays you money. And I feel like male nurses a lot of times get that stereotype. They're like, oh, they're here because they want the money, and they're not really here because they want to take care of your grandma or something. And maybe you do. Maybe I did want to take care of your grandma. I did. Well, all right, guys, that was the 5 things that I found problematic, annoying, interesting, whatever you want to call it, whatever adjective you want to put on that word there, about being a male nurse. I want to hear down below from you guys if you agree with me. Do you feel like this is the same issues you dealt with as a male nurse? Was this not fair? You know, do you think that maybe some of the females may say like, hey, I deal with some of those same issues? And I want to hear from you down below. I'm not always saying that I'm 100% right. Sometimes I talk about my experiences on here, and sometimes people don't agree with me, and that's okay. But if you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, let me know. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Follow me over on Instagram if you're looking for daily content. I update there all the time. Also on TikTok as well if you want funny videos and skits and stuff. And if you're looking for memberships, I offer the memberships over here. That membership channel gives you access to a 26-page study guide to get into CRNA School. Gives you access to me and live chats behind, you know, exclusive live chats behind closed doors. So yeah, jump over there if you want some of that. And until next time, that's Bolt out.